Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. If you can't tell, I'm losing my voice. Things are not good, so I might be slightly extra quiet today. It seems to be coming in and out, but that's not stopping me from doing some testing with the Toyota bZ4X. And today we're running it in the 10% challenge. We've already done a 0 to 100% DC fast charging test on the bZ4X with the CATL battery pack. That's what the North American market version gets. That's what we have here for the all-wheel drive cars. The front-wheel drive cars get a slightly different battery pack, but I want to say somewhere around 72 kilowatt hour battery pack. The thing is, when we run these 10% challenges, we're not trying to look at how it charges fully, and we're not looking at the full charge range. We're trying to see the road trip range. I want to know, can you road trip a bZ4X? There's some other little asterisks in there as well that I'm going to leave you with in a moment. But the first and most important thing is we need to arrive at 10% state of charge at a charging station, juice it for 15 minutes, which is about as long as we want to spend at a charging stop, and then see how far we can go at 80 miles an hour. We're talking middle of the country, West Coast, highway cruising speeds after charging for those 15 minutes before we dip down to 10. I think it's the most important test that we do. It's a brand new test for us. And so far we've run the Porsche Taycan and the Tesla Model Y in this test. So this is the third vehicle, and I don't think it's gonna win, is my impression. But let's see how it does. So there's so much to get into with the bZ4X, but the first and most important thing is getting it at 10% state of charge, which is actually unbelievably difficult because the car does not give you a state of charge indicator anywhere in the vehicle. There's nothing you can do. You can go into meter settings deep in here like Prius Prime has, does not exist. And so here, let me just crank off the heated seat really quick, put the temperature to where we need it for this charging test. I just want to show you on this screen, all it gives me is this little bar and 26 miles. It doesn't tell me percentage. Now, I believe there's a new software update that will add percentage there. But this is a brand new car from Toyota. It only has 400 miles on it, and it does not yet have the percentage. I've been driving it around to get the tires broken in. About 300, 400 miles on a set of tires is when I like to start testing. If they're too new, they actually won't paint a representative picture. They are set to normal tire pressures. Now, I did a lot of math and calculations figuring out with an AWD scanner that 18.43% total battery pack capacity is user displayed 10%. And that took me a really long time of monitoring charging. You know, basically the car communicates the user displayed state of charge to the charger. Typically in this app, I can see user displayed state of charge. This is Car Scanner ELM. It's an app on the App Store. I'm using a V-Peak adapter here. And so that's the only way I'm able to coordinate this. There's a huge buffer down low on this vehicle, so you could drive a lot past 10%, but and a lot past 0%. But we always run user displayed 10% state of charge. That's when your butt's gonna start puckering on a road trip. You're gonna go, ooh, I'm getting low, and that's why we're doing it. So what do you say we get it plugged in? We're at 18.43% state of charge. That's exactly where we need to be to start charging. Let's take a look at the charging speeds. Once we're charging, I'll walk you through more of the testing procedures, tell you a little bit more about the bZ4X, and then we'll be good to go. Here comes a nice Ioniq 5 rolling up. But yep, let's get this plugged in. We'll start the timer at as soon as the contactors click. I, of course, will tell you how long the handshake is. I need 2 hands to get it connected, and then we'll start charging. We are now connected to the charger. We're starting that 15-minute timing window at this time. So we're still waiting for the contactors to click, but at least for now, the negotiation process has started. Typically, this takes 30 to 35 seconds. There we go, first contactors. Now we're gonna start the 15-minute time. So that was a fairly quick connection point at 11% state of charge, but right on the bottom end of 11, because this exact same battery pack state of charge was 10. So we'll look at charging speeds in a minute. Only 63 kilowatts. That is the worst part about this car, is how slow it charges. But one thing we need to do is get the air conditioning running. As part of testing procedures, we always get air conditioning running like you would on a road trip. So one thing that I just actually left on the screen, let's try and start it back up again. Activate my room mode. We have to hit yes. And then there we go. Now we're in my room. We're at 68 degrees on auto. Cooled seats are off. All is good. So it's funny. We're only getting 63 kilowatts right now. That's actually about the most I've seen so far. I did see 70 kilowatts earlier, but you can see here, time to full charge, 12 hours, 40 minutes. That's actually not true. That is based off of AC charging time. I don't know why they don't calculate the DC charging time, but it's just so bad charging performance here. That the bZ4X isn't a bad car, but the charging performance is. So here we are, we're doing 61 kilowatts, 176 amps. That should ramp up to 200 amps or so. I've seen peak. Battery temperatures are perfect, 31C, 35C on the hottest. That's right where you want lithium. It loves to charge fast in this temperature range. So this is truly as good as we're gonna see here. So we're gonna let it charge for 15 minutes and then we'll be good to go. But there's so many more intricacies about this test, about this car, that I have to tell you. Look at this, it even communicates to the charger, 760 minutes left until 100%. It's just communicating the level 2 time. So like, I don't know what they were doing when they engineered this car, because it wasn't anything good, that's for sure. I don't know. But let me tell you a little bit more about the car, about the test, over the next 13 minutes or so before we have to unplug and go. So first, let me tell you about the testing procedures. We arrived to a DC fast charging station with the car preconditioned, ready to go, able to charge at its maximum when we get there. We find a charging station that can max out the car. In this case, the peak stated charging speed is 100 kilowatts. We're getting 63 here at 16%. It just kind of sits flat at 63. Not great. But we also have climate conditioning on inside the car. That's part of the test as well. And so we simulate how you would drive on a road trip. Arrive at 10%. 15 minutes is about when I start getting antsy on a road trip, so we just chose that time. Also, as battery technology improves, maybe some cars will even be full charged by the time we hit 15 minutes of charging as we do this test 10, 15 years into the future. Who knows? So that's going to be one. The next thing is the driving speed. Now, when we do our full charge range tests, which I'd like to do with this bZ4X, we go at 70 miles an hour, and everyone complained that's far too slow. And I think that's probably the right speed for a full range test. Is, you're trying to eke everything out. My watch is going crazy, sorry. You're trying to eke everything out of the car. 70 miles an hour is a speed we can replicate anywhere in the country. But a lot of people drive faster, especially if you're charger hopping. So in the 10% challenge, we run 80 miles an hour, which is a speed we can easily do here in northern Colorado with no issue. So 80 miles an hour, and then we stop the timer, I should say stop the clock when we get back to 10% state of charge, and we always try to hit that very close back to the charging station. So let me let you know what we've run before. The Model Y did almost 100 miles in this test. The Porsche Taycan big battery rear wheel drive did 140 miles in this test, maybe plus or minus. And I don't know what to expect from the bZ4X, but based off of 64 kilowatt charging and the efficiency I've been seeing, not good. The thing is, not every electric car has to be a good road tripper. They're fine if you use them around town like a Bolt or a Leaf, but every $50,000 electric car needs to be a good road trip. And that's how much this car costs. 50 grand, no tax credit. And we're like getting 64 kilowatt charging speeds. Like, I'm fine with electric cars that I can recommend people to buy and use for a limited use case. And you hopefully saw Michaela's video reviewing this very car as an ID4 owner. This car would actually work for her. There's just no benefits over her equally priced ID4. And actually that was cheaper because it qualified for a tax credit. So I'm failing to understand the bZ4X pricing strategy and where it's actually better than any other car on the market. But ultimately we have to benchmark it. We have to see how this does, because a lot of people will buy the bZ4X. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying understand where the car excels. And I think in this test, it's not going to excel, but we run every electric car in this test, so we kind of have to do it. So, all right, let me show you where we're at charging so far. and then we'll unplug as soon as we hit 15 minutes. So we are charging up in the car. Air conditioning is running just fine. We are juicing up. So let's take a look here. 176 amps. I don't know why it's not doing more. I've actually seen more. I've seen 200 amps almost, but perhaps that was at lower state of charge. I'm not sure. But here we are charging up. All good. Using Electrify America 150 kilowatt charger. Let's, I'm actually curious to see if the Ioniq 5 next to us is getting the Signet Surge at all. I don't believe either of these two gentlemen are in their cars. They both left. This is a nice Ioniq 5. So just for reference, 6 minutes we've added 7 kilowatt hours. 6 minutes he's added 14 kilowatt hours, charging at 155 kilowatts. Now keep in mind, this car can still charge faster than this because it's on a 150 kilowatt charger, but this car can do 240. So that just paints a picture that even at low power infrastructure, 150 kilowatts, the Ioniq 5 is charging twice as fast as the old bZ4X right here. And what's crazy is this is a brand new electric car from one of the leading automakers on the planet. And it's just having such poor performance. So the good news is this should be a pretty quick test for me, which I'm very much looking forward to as I'm feeling slightly under the weather, as you can tell. Well, 15 minutes has flown by, and that feels like, again, a great amount of time to spend on a road trip. So we're actually at 14 minutes, and we're just at the start of 14 minutes. As soon as this ticks to 15, we will stop and unplug. Charging speeds have not improved, sadly. 61 kilowatts still. So, man, the charging performance here, brutal. And at least this way we know it's not station limited, because stations typically limit on an amperage level. It would say, 175 amp limitation. But actually, as the car's gaining state of charge, we're losing power, which means it's total power. It's not total power output limitation, but it's actually trying to reduce the amount of current from the charger at the same time. So, yep, this is the same. I did a charging test earlier today and same behavior, which is really sad. So as soon as that hits 15 minutes, we'll hit stop. We're good to go. There we go, 15 minutes. Wow, 15.9 kilowatt hours. Are you kidding me? The Porsche Taycan, I know, a different class of vehicle, did 54 kilowatt hours. What was it? The Model Y, which is the same price as this, long range almost. Definitely the Model Y 4680 is cheaper than this. Haven't tested one of those yet, but I don't think it would do this low of power. Holy smokes. Never seen anything like this before. Okay, well, let's go see how far we can drive. The highway is just over there. We're gonna jump on the ring road around Denver. You guys might ask, normally I start these at the EVgo station. They're offline. They have one little dinky 100 kilowatt still working, but the big boy chargers are down. What this EV revolution leads to some really bad charging experience and really bad car experiences. Okay, well, it's also funny, as soon as you get out, the car shuts off, so we're not burning any juice. Anyway, we're at 40% on the pack, 36% user displayed. Let's jump in. I got to reset the trip calculations, and then we'll be on the move. Vehicle on, booting up. We'll go into eco mode. So we have eco on. This display, come on, thank you. Literally can't find anything or do charging stations. I don't know, crazy. We need to go here, trip information, history, clear data. So now it's got to think to clear data. Still thinking to clear data. It's not like it's got a lot of data. The car's only got 400 miles on it. And there we go. Okay, into reverse. Let's go jump on the highway. What the heck? Okay, cross traffic alert working well. That's good. That guy was flying in. Here we go. And let's hope the rain holds off for at least 3 minutes, because I think that's about how long this test will take before we're back down to 10%. I also need to look at my screenshots and remember the exact percentage we need to kick this off at. So, best way to the highway, be left. Let's do it. So we are giving the bZ4X a tiny advantage here, because it's about 1 mile, maybe 1.5 miles further off the highway than the EVgo station we typically use. And so we're able to drive at low speed to get to the highway. But holy smokes, EVgo, fix your stuff, man. That charger is so important to us at Lark Ridge, here just north of Denver. We really need it because this, yeah, it skews results slightly. Not that I expect this one to do that well, but the highway is just right there in view. So let's go jump on it. And here we go, merging onto the highway now, where we will get up to 80 miles an hour GPS. We're also gonna merge just up ahead in 3/4 of a mile onto the ring road, and that's where we can maintain 80 miles an hour GPS, which I'm very much looking forward to. In terms of the driving impressions on bZ4X, I've made a whole review. Actually drives nice. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it's got enough power. Like, it's not a bad driving car. But yeah, this traffic, this is all the reason we don't run on I-25, jumping on that ring road, setting everything at 80. We always have to deal with this little stretch on these tests, and we'll be good to go. And 80 miles an hour, actually 81 miles an hour, which is where I have the cruise set, is 80. So just teetering between 80 and 81, I guess, for that little hill. But 81 that we're doing now is 80 GPS, and cruising along nicely. And really no complaints about the noise, no complaints about the visibility. It all is pretty nice. Nice glass roof up here. It's a nice darkish cloud, so not getting much thermal load, which is why I left the roof open. Doing lane centering as well, so you can see here's a corner coming up, and it's doing all of this on its own. So I should run this in the hogback, although it just said lane tracing unavailable soon. I think it's because it needs to feel my hands on the wheel with torque instead of capacitive buttons. Let's see, will it do a lane change to the right? No, it just shuts off steering. All right, but I can initiate a lane change this way, locked on steering again, just lightly holding the wheel, giving a little tug. That right there, that steering wheel, that's how we know that we're on lane centering. And we'll go about halfway up this way, turn around, and end in a somewhat loop style test once we get down to 10% user displayed state of charge. So maybe I should have made this a little bit more clear at the start of the video about the user displayed state of charge and the actual pack state of charge. Well, every brand chooses to do this differently. Toyota is obviously not wanting you to run out of electricity when it says 0%. When it says you have 0 miles left, it's seemingly like you have 6 or 7% below there. And maybe I'll make a video showing how far you can go down, at least on a new car. However, the user displayed state of charge, that 10% number, that's what you're gonna see as the driver. And that's what we've based this test around, the driver displayed state of charge. Now, when we do our range tests, we go until the car is full, and then, charging, and then we stop when the car is basically not gonna move. We ignore all the user warnings, all the user displayed stuff, and just do what the car can do at its maximum. But in this test, it's a little bit more real world, it's a little bit more representative of the end user, and that's why we base everything off the BMS data displayed to the driver. I've never seen such a large discrepancy until we tested this bZ4X. Just crazy. We are still cruising along nicely. Even though I'm set to 81 miles an hour, the bZ4X sometimes struggles to maintain it. It goes down to 80, and then it'll eventually work its way back up to 81, but close enough because, yeah, can barely talk with my voice like this. Anyway, we're waiting for 18.45%, but we're still going strong. We're running loops up and down E470 here. So not this exit, but the next one is the one we started on. So we've almost completed the loop. And so I think we're on our final leg this way. This is really our third run. We went that way, we came back, and now we're heading back that way. And I'll let you know as soon as we dip down to 10% user displayed. Charge level at 13% is what that message just said, but then it goes away, and I'm not sure where it goes. So that's the only way really to see state of charge percentage. And then somewhere around 8 or 9%, another warning comes up. That one doesn't tell you percentage. So lots of different weird things going on here, that's for sure. But we're at 20%, so we're very close to hitting the end. And then at the end of the video, stay tuned also, because I want to show you some weird EV settings in here. and also tell you one Achilles heel of the bZ4X. We are at 18.82. Sorry for all the bumps here. As soon as that dips down to 18.45, that's when we have to look and see our distance. So it should be happening here anytime soon, I would think. 18.82 still. Oh, there we go, 18.43, 42.2 miles when it hit. So that is, that is poor. Let's move into the right lane, head back to the charging station. We're very close to a full loop, and oh my God, that is so bad. Let's talk about the results. I want to tell you why I think maybe the charging performance was not so great. And I also want to show you some weird settings in here. We are now back at the charging station, and how annoying is this? Someone left the shopping cart right in front of the charging spot we just used. So let's at least get that out of the way of the chargers. What I'm really curious is, did we have a representative charging session? So this is now the third DC fast charge of the day for me. I had a quick top up just to get down here, very much on a road trip, drove normally, and now yeah, but there's some really funny limitations on this car. Let's at least get it started. We are below 10% by quite a bit, 14.9 on the battery pack, but there's a couple things to know about this car. The first is there's actually a DC fast charging limit on this vehicle, which means when you hit a certain number of charging kilowatt hours into the battery pack, I think not only does it just limit you from charging, it actually cuts off charging altogether. And it was something like the equivalent of 2.5 full charges, 0 to full. So, 140 kilowatt hours in a day, maybe 180 kilowatt hours in a day, something like that. The car just wouldn't charge anymore. So I don't know what's up with that. We also still have not completed the handshake. This is really taking a while. I don't know why. It says reconnecting the vehicle. I've only seen this once before, and it charged me double when this happened. And it also could be because I left the car on. No, car is off. Oh man. I'm gonna be stuck here in a bZ4X. Why is it reconnecting the vehicle? That makes no sense. There we go, initiating charging. Okay, so let's see if it charges me double. Basically what it shows is twice the amount of kilowatt hours going into this thing for a certain period of time. But here we go, continue. The next weird thing with the bZ4X are some of the settings. But before I tell you about that, the actual charging limit has now been increased with new software. I don't know if this car has it or not, but you can now do the equivalent of almost 4 full charges in a 24-hour period before it locks you out. Why is that even in there? I have no idea. Aria, similar thing. You charge enough and it limits your performance. Here we are, 6%, 7%, 61 kilowatts. So not unlike what we saw earlier. So that is very, very weird that we just can't get more than 60 kilowatts on this car today, no matter what. And then I thought to myself, well, shoot, maybe I left the weirdest setting in the world on in here, which thankfully I didn't. So let's power it up. Yes, we'll activate my room. Okay. Let's go here to settings. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to go to this one. This is the worst menu. Why you can't do any of this in the nice screen, I don't know, but you can't. And then we're going to go to DC charging settings. We're going to go to DC charging power. Well, I guess because we're charging, we can't use it. Also, yes, the battery cooler is on. There's a setting in here to limit you between 50, 75, and 100 kilowatts, max charging power. Of course, the car is set to max. I made sure before we started the test, but just a really funny setting. I'm not sure why that would even be in there. And yeah, can't figure out why it just charges like crap now here at a different station, only 62 kilowatts. Just very, very poor performance here in the bZ4X today. Not good. Also, in that charging setting, you can set your maximum state of charge level to charge at between 50 and 100% in 10% increments, which is great. Why they would have you want slower charging than what we're experiencing, I have no idea. But perhaps, I don't know. They just seem to be so conservative with this whole battery pack that it leads to a terrible user experience. Now, the redeeming factor of the bZ4X is if you never have to go on a road trip and fast charge it. If you drive around town, you are a similar driver to like Michaela, what she was doing, this car would work well. The problem is you're spending the same amount, if not more money than most of its competitors. And it can't match what those cars can also do nicely around town. This can't do out on the highway. I mean, the fact that a Tesla Model Y with the tax credit's cheaper than this long range, and a 4680 before the tax credit is cheaper than this is crazy. So really poor performance here, just sitting at 62 kilowatts still. I cannot figure out why. The battery pack temperatures are totally normal. Take a look at this. I thought maybe we're overheating. No, 33 on the coldest, 37 on the hottest. You can see it is running a little bit of cooling, 25 degrees C on the cooling loop, but very, very, very poor performance. And it's not like I DC fast charged it a lot today. This, again, I charged it once to get down here, and I charged for maybe 5 to 7 minutes just so I can make sure I arrived at 10%, and that was it. So very much basic stuff. And it only did 42 miles. And to be honest, it had a slight advantage because we started just a little bit off the highway and had a little bit of traffic before we could get it up to 80 miles an hour. If it was right next to the highway and we had to do 80, you know, the way I would want to do the test every time, well, maybe it wouldn't even hit 40 miles. I don't know. Very poor performance here. So this is why I can't recommend this car to people to buy, because for 50 grand, it needs to do everything. And unfortunately, this car is just relegated to around town use. Again, the Bolt is half the money. I know it's leaving production now. Just when GM figured that car out, priced it well, they canceled it. That car has the excuse of being cheap. This car's not cheap. I really need to test a front wheel drive bZ4X. It should charge a lot better. Also, the all-wheel drive Lexus RZ 450e should charge better. And I believe this battery pack is only for North America, if I remember correctly. The Euro all-wheel drives don't have this battery. So a very weird spec car. Why would they put the worst battery in the most expensive cars, the all-wheel drives, the one people want? I don't know. But at least Lexus is getting the better battery. Can't wait to test that one out. So, damn. We really need to get the Lexus RZ in this test. It should smoke this thing. But there you go. Another 10% challenge by Out of Spec. Excuse my voice. I'm also going in to get my wisdom teeth removed tomorrow. So there might be a couple days without videos. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a video review of the bZ4X when I'm, you know, drugged up from being down. Or they're going to knock me out to rip these teeth out. So wish me luck. See you in another one soon. Bye-bye. And now you can see we are 13 minutes into this charging session and doing just marginally better than the one before. We've added 13.8 kilowatt hours. So, but again, we started at a lower state of charge, not at 10%. So yeah, I would say this is pretty repeatable results here. Nothing too far off. So I was like, if it would charge at 100 kilowatts here, I don't know. Also, some Rivian employees stopped to say hey, so that was pretty great. But ultimately, we are just cruising along, charging, and yep, that's about that. And right after that clip, another viewer came by to chat, and we're down to 57 kilowatts at 19 kilowatt hours delivered, 18 minutes there. So that was the viewer right there in the Jeep. Really cool guy. Also was like, is this thing charging slow? He's like, I watched all of Bjorn's videos. Pretty amazing that so many people are, at least locally, seem to watch our stuff. Love meeting all of you. Okay, just before we end the video, I just want to prove to you that I don't have the DC fast charging limit on. I want this car to perform well. Okay, so here's our charging session, identical to the first one. I'm trying to hit stop charging. There we go. Thank you. Just want to show you the settings in the menu. By the way, there was definitely a cap on this pin when we first started charging earlier today. And I believe we charged on this handle So is the cat fallen or is it stuck in here? Yeah, I don't see it in here. Okay, just wanted to make sure we didn't leave any bZ4X junk stuck in a handle to stop someone from charging. Looks like we didn't. All right, so just to prove this to you, no, not messing with anything here. We're gonna go back into settings. There we go. We're gonna go over to vehicle settings, charging settings, DC charging power, max. See, I got this thing fully maxed out. You can also set it 50 or 75 kilowatts, but it can't even hit 75 kilowatts, at least in this test. I'm pretty sure I've charged them faster before, but this is very representative of a road trip. See, batteries up to 40 degrees C on the hottest, which is really not that hot. Again, Tesla goes up to 63, 64, Rivian's mid 50s. Don't know. But there you go, bZ4X and the 10% challenge. So thanks for staying tuned to another 10% challenge, the third one in the series. Let me know if you like this test. We'll have a spreadsheet linked in the description with the results of the other cars. I'm gonna try and run as many as I can, but my travel schedule's just been through the roof and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. But this is a test, I think the coolest test that we do, the one that's most useful to me. Now I know, can't buy this car if I'm going on long road trips. I mean, you could if you want to sit at chargers for your whole life, but I don't. I just like to top up 10, 15 minutes and go to the next. So there you go, bZ4X all-wheel drive. Can't wait to run a front-wheel drive, and hopefully that would be better. But at this time, I cannot recommend the bZ4X all-wheel drive for road tripping. I didn't think we'd ever see a score this bad, but it's pretty bad. See you in another one soon, and thanks to all the viewers that stopped by randomly in Erie, Colorado to say hey. Bye-bye. Just a quick clip on my way home. We got a cute dog in this ID4. Hey, buddy. Curious to see how these new chargers do, if we'll see the same behavior. Again, totally different brand of charger. Hardware, of course, they're all Electrify America, but it's a totally different brand of hardware. So I'm just curious if we see the same charging behavior here as we did previously. So we're at 24%. This is roughly where we saw mid 60 kilowatt range. Let's take a look to see what the bZ4X will do. 65. Looks like it's just sitting at 65. So I would say it's not the charging equipment. I thought, okay, well, maybe it doesn't play nice with the Gen 2 signets. This is BTC hardware, 66 kilowatts. Yeah, I mean, all pretty much the same to what we've seen earlier. Also, I've heard at least one of the viewers who stopped in and chatted with me before, when it does limit DC fast charging, it limits to about 40 kilowatts or so. It may not shut off completely. Might go down to level 2 speeds, some other folks have said as well. So maybe I shouldn't say it cuts off charging altogether, but still very poor charging performance and repeatably in the mid 60 kilowatt range, no matter what we do to it, sadly. Just crazy.